I'ma dive on the floor, go try to block every shot, and I'm gonna be physical with you the whole game. You know Stu gonna be physical with you. When you think of the Pistons, you think it's just hard work and just gritty basketball. That's just the identity you gotta have when you put on that jersey.
I'm not your average breed of canine. Not a good dog, I'm bad boy for life. I set the tone, don't care about no tick. Let it be known, I get my respect. Come in the lane and see I don't bluff. If you retaliate, that's on ya. Talking pundits, I hear you're ashamed. Talking that chop, you must want this way. Tryna tell ya, look at dog palm, mess around, find out, Tryna tell ya, look at dog palm, mess around, find out, For some barbecue sauce, boy, you better cough a hill, cause I'm like that. When you're ready for some barbecue sauce, boy, you better cough a hill, cause I'm like that. The dog palm, mess around, find out.
What up, though, Pistons fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Downtown Dew Show. As you guys can see, I'm not doing my opening song intro because the Pistons took an L today. They dropped a 2-1 in Summer League play after losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves this afternoon, 89-73. So this loss likely means that the Pistons are not going to have a shot at getting to the elimination round of the Summer League tournament, championship, whatever you want to call it. Only the top 4 teams advance to the single elimination round in the finals. So the Pistons, with this loss today, probably won't have the opportunity to get there, but not a big deal, right? It's just Summer League. We're not really focused on those things. So first and foremost, I want to shout out everybody who's here. It's Black. What's going on? What up, though? Frank Norman, what's going on? Organic Lindo. Joe Pesci says, people saying Bobby is cooked. I didn't watch this game. We're going to talk about that, man. We're going to talk about Bobby and all these guys for sure. Zolar says, what up? What's going on? Sean says, Tolu Smith's NBA career or Will Smith's rap career. I'm dead. That's hilarious. All right, so let's get into it, guys. As always, make sure you drop your comments, make it in caps, whatever you got to do to get my attention. I will do the best I can to get to as many comments as possible. So let's get to it, man. Initial thoughts, right? We all start with that. The Pistons, as we know, went with the same starting 5 as usual with Dennis Jenkins. Did Dennis start? Yeah, Dennis Jenkins, Chaz Lanier, Ron Holland, Bobby Clintman, and Tolu Smith. So that was the starting 5 they rolled out for the 3rd straight game. And this was a very interesting game. It was, first of all, let me say this. It was a very sloppy game. Very sloppy game, man. A lot of turnovers. Very much so a defensive game. We know the Pistons and the T-Wolves both hang their hat on their defense. And we saw that in this game on both ends of the court. The score was 39-31 at halftime. Low scoring game, right? Both teams had 7 first quarter turnovers, right? It was tough to watch early. It was a lot of back and forth play where you see teams turn, they kept turning each other over and not converting, fast breaks because the other team was getting back and trying to play D. It was like watching a tennis match, back and forth, turnover, missed shot, turnover, missed shot, missed shot, turnover. They just couldn't get anything to fall during one stretch of the game. But like I mentioned, that's how both of these teams play. They like to turn you over and like to get out and transition and score. And even though it's Summer League, you can still see, even down to the Summer League rosters, that these guys are really trying to play a certain way and instilling that culture that if you're going to put this uniform on, you got to play a certain way. So definitely was the case. But in the second half, that's really when the T-Wolves started to pull away. It actually started a little bit earlier than that. In the second quarter, the Pistons only scored 8 points. 8 points. I think the T-Wolves scored 18, but that was really when the game started to get away. They tried to claw their way back in the third quarter, but once you got to the fourth quarter, you can see they kind of let go of the rope. So got to give credit to the Timberwolves for playing, tough game. Pistons didn't show up and play their best basketball today. I think they were bothered by the defense, but, like I mentioned, it's just Summer League, nothing to really be crying about. So let's get to individual box scores, and we're going to see what these guys did individually. And then we'll talk a little bit about interviews that were held for guys like Coach Bickerstaff, who sat down, and Isaiah Thomas, who actually did the broadcast, has some things to say. So we'll get to all that. Frank, appreciate you, bro. Where's your comment, man? Where's your comment, Frank? That's my rule. If you're going to give me a super chat, I need you to to put something in here so I can have a conversation with you about it. So I appreciate you as always for the super chat, but give me something to talk about. Let's talk. Organic Lindo says JB must have cussed out those refs during the regular season because it was one-sided whistle fest. It was tough, wasn't it? All right, man, let's get to it. Vulture last thing says Bobby didn't play well. He's definitely staying in the G League. That could very well be possible. That could very well be the case. All right, before we get to Bobby, because I know you guys want to get to Bobby, let's start with Ron. So in this game, guys, Ron Holland had 22 points on 6 for 12 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3, 9 for 10 from the free throw line, right? He is, as we talked about, his jumper is improving, and we see it translating not just, from the 3 ball, but also with his free throw shooting, right? So he's just getting more reps and he's getting more comfortable with the shot. So 9 for 10 from the free throw line is great. He also had 2 assists, 6 steals. 6 steals. He did have 7 turnovers, but it's summer league. I'm not too worried about that. You got to be aware of it for sure, right? But the 6 steals really stood out. So once again, man, Ron looked like the best player in the court to me, at least for the Pistons. The Timberwolves actually have some guys on their team who played some quality minutes last season, or at least played in the NBA last season. Guys like Rob Dillingham and I think Terrence Shannon. Terrence Shannon is a guy that reminds me a lot of Ron as far as being a second-year wing player who, much like Ron, has played rotational minutes for a playoff team, right? Terrence Shannon got his opportunity last year with the T-Wolves in the playoffs, and he played well. He's a good player, and he's the leader of his team the same way Ron is. So I see some similarities there, both two talented guys. But getting back to Ron, Ron was doing it all. He did it all this game, man. He did absolutely a little bit of everything in this game. I honestly don't care if he doesn't play another minute in Summer League. I'm good. They're probably going to continue to play him just to give him more opportunity, give him different looks, let him continue to grow. But I wouldn't be mad if he did. Obviously, I want to see him. But if they decided to sit him down for the rest of Summer League, I'd be cool with that. You know what I mean? Frank says, oh, man, just showing love. I appreciate you, bro. You've been doing that since the beginning, man. I appreciate you rocking with me. Yeah, but as far as Ron, I wouldn't mind if he didn't play another minute. And just watching this game, this dude is relentless, man. He is and it's nothing new. It's nothing that we didn't already know, right? But he just continues to show he's relentless, man, on both ends of the court. Defensively, he was getting up in the guys, making everything tough, trying to turn them over. 6 steals, we saw that. Easy points, transition points, defense to offense. He was doing that all game long, right? Just making everything difficult, making guys very, very uncomfortable, right? And then offensively, he was attacking, man. I gotta say, his first step in either direction off the dribble is lethal. For him, man. Before he puts the ball, because I would see him doing a lot going right, but now he's doing it going left, driving left, and doing it with burst and speed. I didn't see a lot of that last year, right? We didn't see a lot of it because he had guys on his team who could score. So we didn't get to see a lot of him offensively, other than just, 1 or 2 different things. But now we're seeing him do a little bit more. And that's what I like to see in Summer League, giving more opportunity to him and allowing him to show what he can do, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, whatever it is. That's what Summer League is for, right? How much can you handle as far as what's being put on your plate? And he's showing that he can continue. He's continuing to show that he can handle more and more and more. He had some sloppy plays. Well, he didn't play perfect, right? But he played overall a really good game. And he's just showing that he's, once again, just scratching the surface. And he's showing it on both ends of the court, right? His ball handling has improved. His finishing at the basket, his finishing at the hoop is going to be elite. Elite, man. He had 2 drives that he converted on in the first half that 75% of guys in the league would not have been able to convert, right? The second one that he had was actually a Euro finish off the glass through contact. I'm gonna say it again, Euro finish off the glass through contact. And it wasn't like he was right at the basket. I think he was outside of the painted area when he made his move. And it didn't look like he was gonna make it, but he kissed off the glass. It was beautiful, man. So he's got great touch, and he's also a lot stronger than he may appear. He's been working on his body this offseason, really been in the gym. And you can see, you need strength to finish through contact, right? Whether they call it or not, you need to have a level of strength. And he just showed, he is just willing to go downhill, and he's not afraid of contact, and he's showing he can finish. So his ability to get downhill, man, and finish at the rim through contact, that's going to be elite for him. And that's why it's going to be so important for him to continue to progress with his shooting, right? That's going to be very, very important for a guy like him, because he's going to be a guy that I believe is going to live at the free throw line. I think he's going to live at the free throw. He had 10 attempts tonight. I think at the next level in the NBA, as he continues to build up his reputation for being a guy who likes to get downhill, right, and draw fouls, I think he's going to be a guy that lives at the free throw line. And Isaiah Thomas said it on the broadcast today. He said that one thing that stood out about Ron Holland is that once he becomes a polished player, like offensively, and becoming a two-way player, he said the league better watch out. And he's right. He sees it. He sees the raw ability that is now being honed and now kind of being crafted and polished. So he also said that Ron has a nice shooting stroke, and you can tell that he's been working on his shot. So Isaiah Thomas he's got his eye on Ron Holland. He definitely has his eye on him. He was talking about him a lot. He had a lot of glowing things to say about him. And I think he's right. I don't even think it was biased. I think we can all see that Ron has the ability, not even just in Summer League. We saw it last year, but now we're seeing from last year till now the things that he's worked on and how he's really stretched his game out. So the sky is the limit for him, man. He's really going to be a really good player in this league. He's got star potential for sure, man. He's going to be scary good, I think. So, yeah, great game from Ron per usual. He hasn't really had a bad game all Summer League, but I think, having the benefit of an offseason and experience of playing in the NBA last year, right, meaningful minutes, I think that really helped him. So, of course, Ron did his thing, man. So let's move on. Let's keep it moving. Let's move on to Bobby Clintman. Bobby Clintman. So let me give you guys a little context. So last year, I said that I thought Bobby Clintman could have a spot on this roster. I thought that he could be the backup 4 going into this season, right? Have I changed my stance on that? Before I get there, let's just talk about what we saw today, right? Bobby struggled today. He struggled today. And I am starting to get a little bit concerned. I am. Listen, guys, I'm not one of those guys that is just going to die on my sword because of a pick that I made or a prediction I made. I'm going to call it like I see it. You know what I mean? So just want to put that out there, and I'm going to call this like I saw this. I am getting a little bit concerned, right? Today, he looked out of sync. He was in foul trouble all game. He had 5 first half fouls, right, in the first half. And he also had some unforced turnovers. On one possession, he drew a foul, and he missed both free throws. And they were bad misses. They weren't, it was like it was front of the rim and it just on target. He missed some back iron. It was ugly back iron. It didn't look good. So offensively, he did not have it going at all, right? He did not have it going. I will give him some credit for finding other ways to be impactful, right? So let's get to his box score, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Bobby. So in this game, Bobby finished with only 6 points. He did have, 6 points on 3 for 10 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3, 0 for 2 from the free throw line. He had 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, and 6 turnovers. So this was in 30 minutes. So this was one of his worst. This was probably his worst game of Summer League. Maybe by far. I think we can safely call this his worst game of Summer League. Like I mentioned, offensively, he really struggled, man. But he was active on the glass. He had 12 boards, right? And he was active on both sides, defensive glass and offensive glass. He was contesting shots at the rim. Offensively, let's talk about that. Because defensively, he has continued to show that he's providing effort and he's trying to, at least be impactful defensively. Offensively, the good that he did do, he was able to he was able to penetrate. He was able to attack closeouts when guys are flying out at him. And he was able to get to the rim and dish it off to guys like Tolu Smith. So his passing, as we know, is one of his strengths. That's where he's best, though. But that's the thing. That's where he's best. Taking the open shot or attacking closeouts and making plays out of that when the defense draws in, right? So, like I said last show, he's being asked, listen, he played bad. He played bad this game and last game. He had a good game in the first game, right? But he played bad the last 2 games. But keep in mind, he's being asked to do more in Summer League now than he'll be asked to do with the Pistons if he can secure a spot. And I think that's kind of why he's struggling. We talked about guys like Ron Holland, how last year Ron Holland was asked to do specific things, right? Focus on the defensive end and then be opportunistic offensively, right? We didn't know. I don't think many people thought that Ron had all this to his bag as far as the shooting, as far as being able to finish through like he's showing a lot more than what we saw last year because he's given the opportunity. I think we would all agree that Ron Holland has a higher ceiling than Bobby Clintman, which is why you see when Ron is given more responsibility in Summer League, he is thriving. Everybody's not like that, right? Some guys who I think, like Bobby Clintman, very good in very specific roles, right? Very good in very specific roles. But when you ask them to do more, that's when they kind of get exposed for not being able to do those things consistently. And that's what I think is going on with Bobby right now. Bobby is not a guy, guys, who's going to be a go-to scorer, right? He's a guy who's very good in a very specific role and can be successful. I think he can be successful in that role. So just think about this. I said this last show, right? When you think about Bobby, think about a system player. He's a system player. And I know he's not playing his best right now, but think about him potentially replacing Fontecchio. Like, what did we ask from Fontecchio last year? Very specific things, right? Be a knockdown shooter and give effort defensively. That was it. If he did that, he would have played in the playoffs last year, but his shot betrayed him and he turned the ball over way too often because he was doing things outside of what he was able to do, right? So I think the same is applying to Bobby. I think Bobby in an NBA offense is not going to be asked to handle the ball, is not going to be asked to take his guy off the dribble, right? Bobby Clintman is not an athletic player. He doesn't have a quick first step. He doesn't have burst, explosion off the floor, right? He's not that kind of guy. To me, he is more of a Boris Diaw type player, right? Somebody who doesn't rely on athleticism. Even a slow-mo, if you guys know who slow-mo is, right? Type of player. They don't rely on their athleticism, but they can still be effective when they understand how to be effective against superior athletes, right? At the next level, you got to understand how to adjust. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for him is, can he adjust to the role that he's going to be given? So with that being said, though, I do think the Pistons could use another 4 to compete with him at that backup 4 spot, right? So he had a bad game. He had a terrible game. And I understand why some people, I don't agree, but I understand why some people are saying he's not the backup 4. He's not going to be in the rotation. Okay. I mean, I'm not mad at you. Listen, like I said, I can call a spade a spade. He's playing terrible. He played terrible today. He played bad last game offensively. But you can't look past the 12 rebounds. You can't look past what he's doing defensively. So the question is he going to be good enough for the role that he's being asked to play? That's the thing. It's a summer league. This is summer league, right? And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to make the rotation or not. I personally called for him to be the backup 4. I am having questions about that, right? I'm having questions about that. But I think, once again, JB Bickerstaff is good at putting guys in position to be successful based off of their skill set. Their skill set, right? So it can go either way. Maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe because you could say Fontecchio was on the team last year. That didn't work out. Fair. You know what I'm saying? So the same could be true of Bobby Clintman. I'm just not going to base it off of 2 bad summer league games. That's all I'm saying. After the first game, people were raving about him. Those same people are now jumping off the boat and saying he's not even an NBA player. So come on, like we got to be real. we got to be real. And we can't overreact based off of 1 or 2 games. Now, if he does his next game, I'm going to be even more concerned, right? So I'm not saying he is or isn't, but what I'm saying is that I don't think they're going to make the decision based off what we saw off of 2 bad performances. I just don't. And I do think once he's put in position to be successful doing those very specific things, right? Not trying to take his guy off the dribble, right? But knocking down open shots, which he didn't do today, right? He's got to knock down open shots and attacking closeouts. To me, that is the best version of Bobby Clintman as of right now. He has to make guys respect his shot. And when they do, he has to be able to attack those closeouts because, once again, he's not the most athletic guy. So the only way he can really get by his guy is attacking closeouts. You see what I'm saying? So that's the only way he's going to be able to be successful. Is he going to be? I don't know. I hope so, right? I did call for him to be that backup 4 for the 3rd or 4th time. I'm calling it out, right? But he has to be more aggressive. He has to be consistent knocking down shots. That's going to open up everything else. Because if he's not knocking down shots, guys are going to leave him out there. And then he really can't attack closeouts because they won't even be there, right? So let's get to some of these comments, see what you guys are saying. I know some of you guys are really down on him, and I understand why. Organic says Bobby was pathetic today. Let's see what else we got. He was horrific in every facet. That's not true. That's not true, Organic Lindo. I got to push back there because he was all over the boards. Once again, he had 12 rebounds, and that led the team. Right? We got guys like Tolu Smith, who once again played good today. Tolu Smith only has 6 boards. Bobby had 12. Right? So he still was trying to find ways to be effective. He had a block, he had 4 assists. Right? He did have 6 turnovers. So like I mentioned, it wasn't great, but it wasn't all bad. It wasn't all bad. But overall, he didn't play well. So I understand why a lot of you guys feel that way. And we just got to wait and see what happens between now and the next game and the rest of the offseason. But like I mentioned, he may not be ready yet. He may not be ready yet. Maybe he does need another season with the G League. I'm not going to just get rid of him. I don't think that's the answer. But I think he may not be quite as ready as I may have thought. So we got to wait and see. We got to wait and see. Vulture says, you're right, bro. Just need more G League reps. Simple as, yeah. And listen, that's not even a guarantee that even after that, he's going to be ready. It's just clear to me right now that he's not as ready as we may have thought, as I may have thought. That's all I'm saying. So, I know you guys are going to kill him for that. And I understand why, like I said, but we got to wait and see how it plays out. But not a good game from Bobby, but I'm not going to jump off the boat on him after 2 bad games for the 1,000th time. All right. So we'll leave that there. Cortez says, please give Jenkins a shot to crack the rotation. If not, Summer League is a joke. He has earned it. Absolutely. Absolutely, bro. So you mentioned Dennis Jenkins. Let's go ahead and get to him. Let's talk about him. So this game, Dennis Jenkins finished with 11 points. On 5 for 12 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers in 30 minutes. So guys, through 3 games, he has 4 turnovers. So, and to me, that's one of the most important things to take away from Dennis Jenkins, because a lot of people have been worried about what's going to happen with that backup point guard spot, right? What are we going to do with that? We've got guys like Jaden who can slide to the one. We got guys like Karis LeVert who can slide and play the one at times. Like, we have Cade, but as far as pure point guards, other than Cade, we only have Dennis Jenkins. If we were to bring him up, if they brought him up. So I think Dennis Jenkins deserves for sure an opportunity to prove that he can be the backup point, right? Because today, once again, he gave us more of the same. More of the same, man. Tough, scrappy defense, which is always going to be there with him. He was a floor general again, right? Just making the right plays, getting the offense set up, getting the offense organized, right? Talking on offense, talking on defense, communicating. And in transition, man, he was looking to push at every opportunity, right? Getting guys open shots out of it. He was just very much a floor general again. And once again, he was under control. He always seems to be under control. But like I said, we got to wait and see what happens with him. I think he's going to continue to play this way. He played this way last year in Summer League. He played the way he's playing now is how he played last year. He just looks like he's a little bit better than he was last year. But his approach to the game was the same. His effort is the same. His efficiency has been the same. His effectiveness has been the same. It's just that now he's getting more of an opportunity and he's had more reps in this offense. That's the thing. I see the Crews running a lot of sets that the Pistons run. That's by design. So playing with the Crews will help you to get a rotational spot or to help get you in that direction because you understand how to play the game. You understand what's happening on both sides of the ball. And I think he benefited from that. I think he definitely benefited from that. And then too, he knocked down shots. He knocked down open shots. Right? He only made 1 3, but most of the time he was getting good shots. And even the ones that didn't fall for the most part were quality shots. He had 1 fadeaway shot at the end of the half. I think that wasn't a good shot, but the clock was winding down, whatever. Right? But yeah, Dennis Jenkins deserves a shot, man. I think he definitely deserves an opportunity to be that backup point guard for this team. Organic says, Dennis looking like he's outgrown G League reps. I see him getting better if he gets minutes on the main roster. For sure. For sure. Absolutely. I definitely think he's earned that. He's earned that. From last year to going undrafted, not even going drafted, to being given an opportunity by Trajan Langdon. I think he's got out the mud, man. He's really earned it. He's really earned the opportunity to be able to show what he can do at the next level. So I hope he gets it. Vulture says, I like Jenkins' shot. Looks pure. He doesn't force passes. He reads offensive sets really. Yeah, and it's just the comfortability, Vulture. He understands because he's had the reps, right? He was the best player for the Crews last season. He was comfortable. He understood the offense. He understood what was going to be required of him on the defensive end. So I think he's just really comfortable, right? He's just playing. He even said recently in an interview that last year he was kind of thinking, he was kind of just out there, just playing basketball. But now his approach has changed. Now he's going out there with very specific intentions of playing a certain way. And that only comes with time and understanding the offense and understanding what is required of you defensively. So as Black says, I think if we don't give him a chance now, yes, 100%. I totally agree with that. Maybe even as a third guard, but he's going to get opportunity somewhere else if he doesn't get one here. But I don't think the Pistons have turned over that ketchup bottle for this long just to allow somebody else to, you know what I'm saying, to get that. So I really think that he's going to get his chance now. And once again, great game from Dennis Jenkins. He's a good player, man. Really good player. All right. Let's move on now to Tolu Smith. Tolu Smith, man. So Tolu Smith, guys, he has really been impressive for me so far from what I've seen as a big man. Just really sticking to his identity, playing his game, and going full tilt. So tonight, Tolu Smith has 16 points on 4 of 7 shooting, 8 for 12 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, no fouls. 1 foul, no turnovers in 25 minutes. So Tolu Smith, man, I got to give him credit, man. He had another good game. He was all over the boards. Even though he wasn't able to grab all the rebounds, right? You know, Bobby had 12, he had 6, but he was attacking the rim. He was diving every opportunity. And he also defended the paint well, right? He defended the paint very, very well. He only had, how many blocks did he have? He had 3 blocks. He had 3 blocks. So this is the 3rd game in a row. I think he's had at least 1 or 2 blocks. So yeah, he's focused on the defensive side of the basketball, right? He did have a nice help side block in the 4th quarter. Spiked out of bounds like a volleyball and told me, give me that, right? So I love, once again, the fire that he brings. He doesn't say a lot, but when he does, he lets you know about it, right? And I talked about this last episode. I don't really like my bigs bringing the ball up the court, but he's continuing to show that he can do that. And he's just crossing half court and giving it up. He's just trying to move the offense, pick up the pace. And I understand what they're doing with that. We saw JD doing that a little bit last year. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I understand it. As long as they're not turning the ball over in those situations, I guess I'm cool with it. But yeah, he showed he has the ability to handle the ball, push the ball up the court, and then get it to the guard. And how did he do with his free throw shooting tonight? He shot 8 for 12. So I think last game he was like 8 or 9 from 10. So he's a pretty good free throw shooter for a big, right? He got to the line a lot because he's just so active in the paint. He chases after everything. And when he gets there, he's knocking them down at a pretty good rate. So I got to give him credit for that. I don't know if he's going to make the roster. I think we could use him. Not every game, right? But just having somebody who is close to 7 feet on this team would be beneficial. The biggest guy we have on this team is JD, and he's 6'10", right? There's nobody on the squad 6'11" or up. So Tolu Smith could come in and be that guy if we need him, more so for insurance. I wouldn't mind that. In games where the Pistons are dealing with, big lineup, big front court, they get in foul trouble or they're rebounding terribly, something like that. You could use a guy like Tolu Smith, I think, to come in and just give you some solid minutes. So we'll see if he gets the opportunity. But once again, he's continued to be consistent. He has been consistent for this team so far, and we'll see how it plays out for him. Let's see what you guys' thoughts are on Tolu Smith, if any. Organic says he ain't perfect, but I just like Tolu. He's a dog, bro. He's a dog. I think he's just one of those guys that's going to bring the effort. He fits because that's how the Pistons play, right? The Pistons are trying to build a culture to where every night, 48 minutes, we're going to bring the effort, right? And having bodies on your team, having a deep roster allows you to be able to go full tilt because now guys aren't spent, playing 35, 40 minutes a night trying to go full tilt. You got guys you can bring in and have that same type of effort. So I wouldn't mind having a guy like him who's a dog, who is active in the boards, who is an interior presence defensively, and is a good rim runner, right? When it comes to Cade, and whoever it is, he's a good lob threat. He sets good screens, and coming off it, he dives to the basket. He can catch it throwing down. So yeah, I like what I saw from him. I wouldn't mind adding him to this roster, man. I think he could be a player that could help the Pistons in spots. All right, so now, guys, let's move on to our last guy, Chaz Lanier, our rookie. So Chaz Lanier tonight, guys, finished with 12 points on 4 of 14 shooting, 4 of 12 from 3. So 12 of his 14 shots were threes, which I'm okay with. He had 1 rebound, 1 block in 25 minutes. So the more I watch him, the more I just see he's going to be, a guy that is going to play a very specific way. You got certain guys who can give you different things on different nights. Nah, he's going to be a guy who's going to come out firing, right? 12 threes tonight. I'm not mad at that, because you think about guys like Malik Beasley last year, guys like Tim Hardaway last year. They come into the game and they were what? They were getting them up. They were getting them up immediately, coming into the game, firing. And sometimes you need that. I think Chaz Lanier, I don't want to put too much expectation on him as a rookie, because he is a rookie, right? I'm not going to talk about his draft position because that doesn't really matter to me, right? We've seen guys go in the second round who have had successful careers. So I'm not going to say, well, he's only a second round pick. No. Just looking at what I see from him, everybody needs time. Everybody needs time to adjust and adapt to the NBA. I think him playing 4 years in college will help him, though, as far as understanding how to play, because the way that he played at Tennessee is how he is probably going to be asked to play with Detroit, because Tennessee loved to turn you over and get out in transition. And that's when he was at his best, right? Whether it was getting all the way to the hoop or whether he was knocking down open threes, right? So I love him playing this way even in games where he doesn't shoot it well. Like tonight, he was only 4 for 14 overall. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Just continue to get him up, because we know when he gets hot, it can get ugly for the defense pretty quick. And he came into this game, he hit his first first shot, coming off screens, right? Boom. And he's a rhythm player. If he catches it in rhythm, it's probably going in if he's open. It's probably going in. And he caught a rhythm pass off of, I think it was a Bobby Clintman offensive rebound. He got it out to him, caught it on rhythm, knocked it down. So, and then defensively, I said this last game, he stays attached. He stays attached defensively. I'm not going to say he's an elite defender, because he's not an elite defender, but he's a smart defender. He's smart, right? He's not going to hurt you defensively. Think about a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. last year, right? Last year, Tim Hardaway Jr., he didn't wow you defensively, but he didn't hurt you either defensively, right? He may not get steals, he may not turn you over and take it down for a dunk like a guy like Ron Holland or Asar Thompson can, right? But he's not going to give up easy shots, right? He can get stops. He might not get steals. He might not get blocks, but he can get stops. And that's really all you're asking for from a guy who can do so much offensively off your bench. And he's only going to get better. So, yeah, I like what I saw from Chaz Lanier. He didn't shoot great, but I loved his approach. I love the approach. I love the confidence. And I loved how defensively he stayed attached. And he's got a beautiful shot, man. He's got a beautiful shot. Like, he's got one of those shots where every time he puts it up, it looks like it's going in. Like, I always think about a guy like Ray Allen. Whenever you would see Ray Allen attempt a three, you think it's going in every time. Not just because he has a history of making them, but it just looks good when he leaves his hands. That's kind of what I see with Chaz. It just looks good when he leaves. He's got good balance. He's got good timing on his release. He's got a quick trigger too. He gets it off quick, right? So yeah, I think he's going to be just fine at the next level. Once again, he's just going to need opportunity and reps and comfortability. Those are the only things he needs. So Organic says, Chaz cool and all, but 7'1" Maxime Reynaud would have been ideal. I'm not mad at that. It's water under the bridge now. The question is, do you think 7'1" Maxime Reynaud is better than a guy like Tolu Smith? Is he that much better? Can he give you that much more? I'm not too familiar with his game, so like you can literally tell me what you think about that. But yeah, it's always hindsight when it comes to stuff like that. You never really know. But I do think Chaz is still very important, though. Like, you think about what we lost. Like, Bees was the most important player off our bench, maybe other than Isaiah Stewart, if we want to talk about impact. Scoring-wise, for sure, right? But, yeah, you need guys who can kind of come in and fill that role. And I think Chaz is a guy who can really help to kind of fill some of that void that may be left behind by a guy like Malik Beasley, because they kind of play similar games. So we'll wait and see how that works out. Okay, so let's talk about Coach Bickerstaff. Man, he joined the show. He had some things to say about this team. He had a lot to say, actually. He talked about a lot of individual guys. First, he started with Tom Gores, and he talked about how much Tom Gores cares. He was asked about how he views him as an owner. He said, Tom Gores cares. He said, he knows my kids' names. He said he cares about my family. He cares about the team, and he's committed to this team, and he's shown that. So that was good to hear about Tom Gores, right? Shout out Tom Gores. He talked about Cade. He said Cade is a player who can continue to get better and better. He said he's a true number one. And he said as great of a player as he is, he's an even better leader. I think it's really important to have that connectivity between your player, your best player, and your coach. That's very, very important, right? And you can see that Cade has that. You see at times when Cade would be the coach on the floor, not even just as far as basketball, but as far as just relaying the message that coach has been preaching, right? As far as how to play the game, what to do in certain situations. He was a coach just told us this, or coach told us that, to the point where Coach Bickerstaff ain't got to say anything. The same way Coach Bickerstaff goes to bat for his players when it comes to referees, and the players ain't got to say nothing a lot of time. You'll see Cade doing that with his teammates as the leader, reiterating what coach says, so that way coach ain't got to say anything. That's very important. When you have the connectivity between your best player and your coach, it goes a long way towards your team having that synergy and playing for each other. So I was really glad to hear that. It's not anything we didn't already know, but you hear everybody reiterating that about Cade, and I think it's just great. He also mentioned that he's excited to get Jaden Ivey back. He said that he's healthy, he's good to go. He's looking forward to having him and Stu back next season. He's looking forward to Jaden doing some big things. He talked about Ron Holland. He said Ron Holland is the leader of this team. And that's what I said before Summer League started, was that I knew coming in, he was going to be the leader of this team. He's the only guy really on this team that has played meaningful, consistent NBA minutes. We got guys like Dennis, who's played a few minutes, a few games. Bobby played a couple games, but Ron Holland was a staple of that bench unit. Very, very important piece. Even though he didn't play a lot in the playoffs, he was very important for us, for our team, going 44-38. Right? He's very, very, very important piece to his team. So I knew coming in he was going to be the leader, and that's kind of what coach reiterated. And we see Ron, like I mentioned before, he's able to handle what's being thrown at him, and that's good to see. Coach also said Karis LeVert, talked about LeVert. He said Karis LeVert is a guy who can play either guard spot. And that's something he talked about when they first brought him here, his ability to play either guard spot. So once again, I think we have guys who are going to be able to at times play point guard or just handle the ball, right? Forget the positions, right? But I think having guys, whether it's Cade and Karis, Cade and Jaden and Karis, I think the Pistons are always going to have ball handling and playmaking on the court. And then if you want to add Dennis Jenkins in there in times when the Pistons need it, foul trouble, whatever, you have him as well. So I like what the Pistons have done as far as that. And he mentioned that Karis LeVert is going to be a guy who can help them with that. He also mentioned how he is familiar with him, with playing with him or coaching him in Cleveland. I think that's a big part of why Karis LeVert is here, is because coach knows exactly what he's going to get. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him. And then he also talked about what he said. This was cool. He talked about what he said to the team in their first meeting last year, because he was asked about the turnaround of winning 14 games to winning 44 games last year. And he said in his first meeting with the team, he told them, this is a new beginning. Nothing that has happened before this season matters. He said this is not going to be a hangover of last season. Early in the season, he said we would play well early, and then we couldn't finish. He said we always had the talent, but we just needed the direction and the reps. So, yeah. And if you guys remember, Tim Hardaway Jr. actually said the Pistons' turning point was after the NBA Cup tournament. He said because that was the first time a lot of those guys have played meaningful basketball, right? I think the furthest they got was they lost to the Bucks to decide who was going to get that last spot to get into the NBA Cup, right? But so it wasn't even an NBA Cup game, but they were playing for something. They were playing for a chance to get into a tournament, right? It wasn't a playoff tournament, but it was a tournament in the NBA that mattered. And so Tim Hardaway Jr. said when that happened, that's when he saw those guys kind of get to another competitive gear. And that's when they really started to take off. And for those who are wondering, that happened when Jaden Ivey was still on the team. So it wasn't that Jaden went down and they started playing better. They started to play better around the time of the NBA Cup, and you saw them starting to turn the corner because they all started to lock in on both sides of the court because they knew that they wanted more. They had a taste of competitive basketball and they wanted more. And so that's really when that happened. So anyway, long story short, that was what coach said to them. He said, let's forget about last year. And that's kind of why, guys, I wasn't expecting a 25-win season. That's exactly why. I heard a lot of people saying 25 wins, that'll be a good season. No, you can't base last year off of what you expect this year. Totally different front office, totally different coach, totally different team, totally different mindset, right? And so that was what he was echoing to his guys. Last year does not matter. It doesn't matter. It's not a barometer. We have higher expectations. That's done. Let's move together. Let's move forward. And that's what they did. So, and a little bit more on Coach Bickerstaff. I love this dude, man. I love this dude. I just love what he means to this team. He was recently interviewed. He went on, what was it, Grind? I think it's called Grind City Media YouTube podcast with former NBA player Tony Allen, defensive dog, right? And Coach was asked about Detroit. And here's some things that Coach had to say. He said, Detroit is awesome. He said, what we went through last year, or what they went through last year, allowed me to coach these guys in a way that they were open to everything because they didn't want to go through the struggle that they went through before. And then he went on to say, quote, we knew coming into every game, the plan was to beat your ass. He said, JB said every night that they're going to be in a dogfight. He said the opposing team every night is going to be in a dogfight. And then he went on to say, he said, some teams, whether it's the first quarter or the fourth quarter, they don't want to do it enough. They don't want to have that mindset. They don't want to play that way the entire game. It's taxing on your body. It's mentally tough if you're not mentally tough, right? And so that I thought that was important. So he said, with our guys, win or lose, we'll win the fight. I thought that was very, 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 very interesting. He said, win or lose the game, we're going to win the fight. And what he means is the physicality battle, the effort battle, the going for 50-50 balls, that battle. You're not always going to knock down shots. You're not always going to have it going offensively. But if you can win the effort fight, that's a win for them. And you think about it, that's important. You think about the team out of the Eastern who came out of the East last year, right? The Indiana Pacers. What was said about them in the playoffs last year, regardless of who they played, right? Whether they were playing the Cavs, whether they were playing the Bucks, whether they were playing the Knicks, whether they were playing the Thunder. They were the comeback kings. They were the comeback kings. It seemed like in every series, Halliburton or Neesmith or somebody hit a game winner after being down 20 points in the first half, right? How does that happen? Because they never stop playing. They're never out of a game, ever. They play 48 minutes. Those teams are annoying for the opposition to play because you can never take your foot off the gas. You can build up a big lead, outplay them for 3 quarters and lose the game, right? Because you didn't have that mentality for the entire game. So I love that JB is saying that because the Pistons are trying to build that same thing. That's their mentality. That's their culture, right? 48 minutes. I've always said that. Play as close to 48 minutes as you can, right? You're not always going to play perfect for 48 minutes. You're not always going to have the effort, unfortunately, for 48 minutes. Not everybody. It's hard, right? It's easy to have lapses, but if you can play 42, 44, 46 minutes of tough basketball, you're going to win most games. And early in the season last year, we did not see that with this team. We did not see it. We didn't see it with the Pacers either, right? So just having that mentality all game long is going to take you a long way, especially in the playoffs. So I love to hear him say that for sure. And watching him, you could just feel his passion, his compassion his passion in what he was saying. He's a fighter, man. Like he embodies, JB Bickerstaff embodies this team better than most coaches currently in the NBA could ever. Right? Like we know he's an X and O's guy, really smart guy. Right? He's been around the league his whole life. Today, he just said he remembers being 5 years old, being with his father, Bernie Bickerstaff, who was an NBA coach for many years. So he's got the experience, right? He's got the smarts. He knows the game, but his mentality, his gritty approach to this team, man, it fits perfectly. There's nobody else I would want really right now leading these guys. The way that he protects his players, right? Going after the officials, getting in their ear. I think back to this scuffle we had with the Timberwolves, who we ironically played today, right? But he was getting into it with Pablo Prigioni, another former NBA player who's now an assistant coach for the T-Wolves. He was going after him, right? So he wants all the smoke, man. I love that about him. And he's real. It's real. It's not just like players can tell when coaches are just talking a good game, but it's cap, right? Versus when it's really who they are. They spend time with these guys in the locker room, in the practice, during the game. Like they can see through it if it's not real, especially when those guys are the same way. When those guys naturally are like that, they can see through somebody who's trying to be that, but it's not. That's why guys like Stu, guys like Ron, who are always ready to have that mindset or to go there, it makes guys like them want to play for a coach like him even more because they know that he understands them and they know that it's real. And that's what makes them want to play for him, right? So I think that's a big part of why these guys play so hard because they want to win for themselves, but they know that their coach has the same mindset and they want to go win for him. And that is going to make it easier for them to go ahead and play as close to 48 minutes, right? So once again, I just think he's a perfect coach for this team, man, because you don't always see that. You don't always see the coach embodying what the players are. And that's important to have that. So that's all I got, man. That's all I got for this show. Let me take out a few more comments before we get out of here. Let's see. Chaz has got to grow into the NBA. I don't think so, Dwayne. I don't think so. I saw him in college pulling it for 35, man. He's got the range. He's got the range, bro. Even think about it. His misses today were not bad misses. They were just a little bit short, a little bit offline, but he can knock him down. He's got range, man. I don't think that's a problem for him at all. I really don't. If you go back and watch his college film, you'll see like he was not towing the line a lot. He wasn't towing that line. It was some space. It was 3 or 4 feet at times of space in between his feet and that 3-point line. And so I think he's going to be just fine. I think he just has, once again, he just needs the reps. Just needs a rep. So we'll see. Let's see. Do the Pistons pay you for your ride because you don't judge basketball? You just love everybody. That's not true at all, bro. You must not have been here a long time. For those who remember, how often was I getting on Fontecchio? Early on, how often was I getting on Tobias Harris? Right? Come on, man. You got to do your homework, man. You got to do your homework, bro. You kind of calling yourself out right now because if you actually watch, you would know that. You would know better than that. But hey, it is what it is. Organic says we couldn't finish games. Cough, cough. Questionable lineups. Cough. My bad. Yeah, that's all it was, man. To start the season, they couldn't finish games. They couldn't finish games. They didn't have direction. They were still kind of, I think, dealing with the mental effect of what happened to them last year, the season before last, when they would be up a lot of the game, controlling the game, and then lose the game in the last 5-6 minutes of the game. I think they had to kind of get out of that. I think it kind of became habitual. And I think, having, once again, JB there for them to kind of settle them down and to give them that direction, I think that helped them. All right, a few more. Frank Norman says, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. We have dogs with big fights. Yeah, man, we got a lot of dogs in this team. A lot of dogs in this team, man. I think next season, I predict 50 wins next year. That's my prediction as of right now. It's early, way too early prediction. But I see the Pistons winning 50 games next year because I see them getting off to a better start than they did last year. Last year, they were 0-4 to start the season. 0-4, right? So barring injuries, major injuries, because injuries are a part of the game, but barring major injuries at inopportune times like we had last year, I think the Pistons are going to win 50 games next season. All right, last comment. Organic says, nothing like having a coach that you run through. Yes, 100%. 100%. And they definitely are willing to do that for him. So we will end it there, guys. The Pistons' next game, their final exhibition game, which is probably going to be their final summer league game, is Thursday, July 19th against the Miami Heat at 4 p.m. EST. And we will be right back here, guys, to break it all down. So make sure you guys talk to me in the comments. Let me know what you guys saw from this game. And let's keep the conversation going. And y'all know the drill, man. Detroit versus everybody. See y'all Thursday.
And when you knock me down, I'm getting back up. Cause when I step on the floor, you know your time's up. I'm on my way up and I'm not gonna stop. We headed straight to the top in the low. I gotta face it, I got no time to waste it. It's my time now, hit me